Thank you, Coach. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, Dolly, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
So, I was reading a little bit about you. Not that we don't know each other fairly well, but it dawned on me that you are absolutely from a Notre Dame dynasty family. Talk a little bit about starting all the way with your dad.
Yeah, it's funny because before my dad came here, we had no association with Notre Dame at all. And although I will say this, in 1969, my dad was crazy enough to put all 7 kids and him and my mom in a Winnebago and drive from Virginia to Seattle, Washington, and back. And on the way, we were driving by on 8090, and we saw the signs for Notre Dame, and we're like, we got to go. We got to see Notre Dame because we watched Lindsey Nelson highlights every Sunday morning, like anybody else at that time. And made him pull over, and he was athletic director at Washington and Lee University at that time, and Roger, he called Roger Valdesari, and Roger toured us around campus in 1969. It's the first time we'd ever seen it, any of us, him included. And so from then, he came to work here in 1980, and that kind of started everything. Then my 2 brothers went to school here. My third brother went to law school here. All 3 of them coached, or 2 of the 3 coached lacrosse while they were here in school. Or played lacrosse, and my brother Brian also came out and coached. So a whole bunch of us have touched the Notre Dame lacrosse program over the years. And then Dad left in 87, I think, and I came in 88, and kind of we've kept somebody here then. And then Boo came back as an administrator, and so yeah, we've kind of it's Notre Dame, right? Once it's in your family, it's like a virus; it just doesn't come out.
And Tim was a 3-time monogram winner, is that right?
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive. So it's a virus that doesn't come out. One of the things that I was thinking about is you've been here for 35 years. Is that right?
36. I'm in number 37 right now.
So you started when you were 14.
Yeah, I wish.
But that's a long time. Why did you stay? Why did you come and why did you stay? Because I've known you since I moved back here. And it wasn't like you were not in demand lots of other places, but you chose to stay. Why?
Well, when I came here, I was not in demand. Let's be clear about that. I think I got the job because I was the only guy who'd take it for the money they were offering at the time, and that's not false modesty, but it was good luck on my part, right? Because I knew it's Notre Dame, and if you come here, you can have a chance to create something here because there's so much here. And then, it's funny, Dolly, I mean, I would love to say that I came and I said, I'm never leaving. That's not going to happen. In fact, when I married my wife, she said she moved out. We had met in Virginia, and she moved out, and she said, well, you got 3 years to win some games and get us out of here, get us back to Virginia somewhere. But then when I looked at another job about 10 years after that, I said, what do you think? She said, well, we'll miss you if you go. So she kind of kept things real. But I got to admit, when I came here, there really was very little support for the program. It was just getting started, and most of the time as a coach, if you want to make the moves professionally to end up where I am now in a great program with all the facilities and all the resources and everything that you need to compete for a championship every year, most of the time you have to take steps. You have to, move from here to there to keep climbing the ladder. I was really lucky that I was at a school where all those steps kept happening while I was here, and I didn't have to go somewhere to do it. My first year here, we had no assistant coaches, no budget for assistant coaches. We had no scholarships. We had to bus to every game, which meant that you were climbing on a bus on Friday morning and then getting off that bus on Sunday night after going to New York or Baltimore or somewhere like that for the weekend. So it was a different thing. But now you look back and it's like, oh, we got a stadium, we've got scholarships, we've got a terrific, I think the best assistant coaching staff in the country, and all these things that are in place now that happened along the way. So I didn't have to move to do that. I was able to stay. And my family was, to Liz's point, was right. they were very happy. I have 3 kids, and they loved being here. Liz loved being here. I loved being here. So we didn't want to move, but a lot of times you have to in a career, and I was fortunate that I didn't.
Well, so we have some folks from Denver here, and you were just recently there for a UND celebration. Thank you for that. And they were sharing a story about you being there and telling a story about Lou sharing the field. Tell us that. How far you've come.
That was my very first game. That was the fall of 1988, which, of course, everybody here knows was the last time we won the national championship in football. But I was trying to make a splash in the world of lacrosse, right? So we invited Johns Hopkins to come out. They had just won the national championship in lacrosse that previous spring, and so we wanted to make a statement. Notre Dame's going to step up into the big time, right? We're going to play the big boys, and so Hopkins comes out to play us that fall, and it was in the middle of October, and we had a really unusual, like a snowstorm called for on Friday night. And so I went to Lou, and I don't know if you guys know this, but back in those days, Coach Holtz would go to the pep rally, and then him and the whole team, and then after the pep rally, they would go over into the Loftus Center, our indoor field house, and they would turn off all the lights, and all the players would lay on the turf, and Lou would do like a positive mental imagery, talk for them, sort of a sports psychology kind of thing that he would do for 20 or 30 minutes, and then they'd get on the bus and they'd go to the hotel for the night. So I said to Lou, I said, hey, it looks like it's going to snow. We're trying to make this impression. We're trying to get some people to come out and watch lacrosse, and can we use Loftus on Friday night? And he said, sure, that sounds great. Good for you, have at it. Well, halfway through the third quarter, I get a tap on the shoulder, and it's George Kelly, who was a longtime coach here, one of the great guys of all time. And he says, all right, Kev, you guys got to go now. And I'm like, George, I talked to Lou about this. He said, well, I don't know what he said to you, but he just told me to get your ass off the field. So I'm not sure what he told you. And so I said, George, go stall him. Go do anything you can. So George goes out. He comes back about 10 minutes later. He says, that's the best I could do. Now, we're like 3/4 of the way through the third quarter at this point. And I'm like, Lou, George, you got to, I'm not leaving. I'm like a American Pie. The marching band refused to yield. I was not leaving the field. I'm like, we're halfway through a game here. The statement we're trying to make is not that we leave when you guys want to lay in the dark. The statement we're trying to make is that we're playing the big time lacrosse here. So I keep one eye on the door. I tell them, run the clock, just keep the clock going. I keep one eye on the door, and nothing ever happens. The door never opens. I'm expecting Coach Holtz to come in there with 2 of his biggest guys and throw me off the field, but so nothing happened. So I don't know what's going on. So we finished the game. That's it. Monday, I turned the lights off in my office. I refused to answer the phone because I'm thinking anybody who calls is calling to fire me. They're saying you don't say no to Lou Holtz in the middle of a national championship run, and but so I'm literally like just trying to stay out of harm's way there that Monday. And Mike Brennan, who's a great friend now, Mike had come to Notre Dame from Baltimore. He was a high school All-American lacrosse player. 6'4", 185-pound walk-on tight end on the football team, who had played 1 year of lacrosse at Notre Dame because he said, I don't think I'll ever letter in football, so I want to get a letter, so I'm going to play lacrosse 1 year. Now, this was before I got here, but I knew Mike because of my connections in Baltimore and everything. So Mike comes into my office, and he says, do you know what happened? And at this point, Mike is not just 6'4", 315 pounds, but he's also the starting offensive guard on our national championship football team and a co-captain. And so I'm like, I said, no, Mike, all I know is that I was coaching, with one eye on the field and one eye on the door the rest of the day. He's like, well, Coach Kelly came in, he grabbed Coach Holtz, and they were talking. I could see Coach Holtz getting mad, and he said, and I stood up and said, hey, Coach, this is a big deal for them. I'm from Baltimore. I know what Hopkins means in lacrosse. Hopkins is like the Notre Dame of lacrosse right now. And he said, so this is a huge deal for them. Can we do the other thing at the hotel? And to Lou's credit, he said, "All right, get on the bus. Let's go to the hotel." And they did their thing in the ballroom at the hotel that night instead of in the Loftus Center. And we got to get our butts kicked by Hopkins for another quarter.
And did Coach Holtz ever say anything to you?
Never
after
said
that?
a word. To his credit, never said a word. I never,
That's-
never said anything. Now, if they had lost the next day, I have a feeling I might have heard about it a little bit more. But
So you were at that time you were trying to, as you said, maybe break into the big leagues, right? Show them that what Notre Dame had, and now you have not just broken, you shattered into the big leagues. 2 years back to back national champions. Right? Seriously. And just my color commentary on my own interview. I think there's supposed to be another person doing color commentary. Since I'm the only one up here, I'm going to do both sides. And I'm going to say, in addition to that, one of the most fun, nicest guys you could ever meet is Kevin Corrigan. Just the best. Okay, so now you've done this. First national championship. Tell us about that. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
yeah, thanks. Well, I will say this. In my own head, people keep saying to me, back-to-back national champions, and I love that. But in my own head, I keep thinking I'm 2-34 in the 36 seasons that I've been here. So it's really not quite, as big a deal when you amortize it that way. It was pretty cool. The first time we won last year in 23, I wouldn't have argued with anybody that said we weren't the best team, right? We were just a team that won the championship that year, and we had to win in overtime in the semifinals to do that. And so clearly there were teams that were as good as us, and so that was amazing but I never for 2 seconds had a chance to sit back and during that one and enjoy what we were doing and not that I don't enjoy the process of the coaching and everything because that's what I love but I mean that was like you were into every second because you had to be in that one and that's how that played out. We were tied in the third quarter of the championship game and so there was just never a time to sit back and relax and enjoy it that way. So that was great because it was fun, competitive, and obviously at the end to see our guys, the release of emotion and our guys and everything was fantastic. It was amazing to watch, and it's really one of those things. It's one of those moments that you live for in coaching is to see your guys, just that much joy and everything for them. So that was amazing. This year was different because this year we were the best team. Right, and we won the ACC tournament by beating 2 top 5 teams, one by 9 goals and the other by 10 goals. So we kind of went into the tournament thing. Thank you. Yeah, we kind of went into that tournament thinking all we can do from here is screw it up, because we're clearly the best team right now. And to our guys' credit, they never did. They never puckered up. They never felt like they were defending something or doing anything else. They just continued to play great. So down the back end of last season, we just played such good lacrosse. It was a joy to be around and a whole different feeling of the second time because it didn't come with all the pressure and the pressure moments and everything that the first one did, So it was kind of 2 completely different trips, but both obviously, pretty great.
But that first one in 23, one of the things that I'll never forget is certainly the win. But before the win, before it even happened, the number of your former players and friends and family members, but really an alumni that showed up, that was the tailgate of the century, right? I was so floored when I came out. Those lacrosse parents know how to have a party.
Yeah. It wasn't just. There were. I'm not exaggerating. There were thousands of people at our post-game tailgate, and I would imagine pre-game too. I didn't participate in, but it was amazing to see so many people there. And again, for whatever reason, I think all our alumni, I mean, we had guys who took red eyes in from the West Coast and stuff like that because everybody just felt like this is it. It's gonna happen this time, because we've been so close so many other times and didn't quite get there. So I just, for whatever reason, everybody felt like this is gonna happen. This is the one, and they all showed up, and it was amazing. It was such a great thing.
And so now, finished 23, and now you have something to lose, right? And so you're going to another. No, you're saying no way.
No, I mean, you know what? For 34 years when we didn't win the championship, the first thing we said every fall was, "This is a new team. That year is over." And we had some great years. I never felt like we were failing, along the way, even though we might not have won that last game like we wanted to. But we all, you always have to make the point with a college team that the team is so different year to year. You've graduated, 12 to 15 guys. You've brought in a new dozen guys or more who come in as freshmen. Everybody's a year older, and their experience is so different. The difference between a freshman year when everything is new, everything that you do the entire year is new, right? And I say, a lot of people love to say, like you'll hear it when the football season gets to the end of the year, and they'll say, "Well, he's a freshman, but he's not a rookie anymore." And it's like, "Oh yes, he is. He's never been through what he's going through before. It's never been his experience before. So he's still a freshman until that's over, and he's doing things for the second time. So yeah, that's the approach that you take every single year. This is a new team, a new year. You don't pick up where you left off. There's no shortcuts. You have to go through the process from the beginning to the end. And that's the approach that we took last year, after winning it, the approach that we took for 34 years before that when we didn't win it, and certainly the approach we're taking right now. So, nothing to lose because this team hasn't done anything.
That's a great
Everything to gain,
way.
nothing to lose. Yeah.
Well, and you proved that, right? So to watch your team on the field, that game was the most unbelievable thing. The thing that I'm really curious about is a 2-hour rain delay for anybody who was there, right? I see some nodding up here in the front, and you all went into the locker room. What'd you do for 2 hours? What did you say? How did you keep them hyped?
You know what? I didn't. I went the opposite way. I mean, if you've ever, clenched your fist, right? It's not that hard to do. And you could probably sit here and do it for the next 5 minutes and think nothing of it. But try doing it for 2 hours. And then for 2 hours after that, right? So I told our guys, take off your stuff, turn the music up, relax. I mean, we had guys playing cards. We had, guys were doing everything because they told us it's going to be an hour and a half at least. So I said, we're not even going to think about this for an hour and a half. You guys just relax. We all know what we're here for. Just do the best you can to just kind of pass the time for the next hour and a half. I went in and took a half-hour nap. I fell sound asleep. You're so ready and everything, and then it's all of a sudden like, oh, nothing. You're going to do nothing for the next 2 hours. So I just conked right out. And I think that really helped our guys because they then we had to, okay, they're going to call us back out in about 10 minutes. Let's get up, let's get dressed, let's get ready to go. And I think it relaxed our guys a little bit and kept them from kind of being exhausted by the process of it,
Well, they came out fired up, so you did something right. Before I turn it over, so afterwards, that post-game tailgate that continued was just, I've never seen so much joy. Yeah. And you walked through there, and just people were so happy for you. Those former players that played for you, you could tell all they wanted to do is win for you.
Yeah, I think they were happy for each other and for me and for the guys. And honestly, I mean, that was my thing was the greatest thing about it was that they all felt part of it. They didn't feel like, oh, you guys won a championship kind of thing and all that. They were like, hey, we finally won a championship. This is awesome. So it was. I really do sincerely believe that was the why it was so joyful, because everybody felt a part of it and felt so good about it.
Well, you did a lot to make that happen. I want to tell one little story before we open it up for questions. So the rain delay caused people to miss their flights. So my husband, Dan, who's in the audience, Dan and I missed our flight. And so Coach was kind enough to let us hop on the plane with the team and come back. And when we got back to the South Bend airport, I think I might have told you this story, right? So we waited while everybody got off because they were videoing it and people were there to greet them. And so the players are getting off. And then there's a lull for a minute, and there's still players in the back. And we look back, and what are they doing? They're cleaning up the plane. I swear. Right? There's cameras outside. They've just won back-to-back national championships, and these young men are doing the right thing. And then a group of them went off, and some more came up and picked some things up. That does not happen by accident. Talk about the culture of your team and what would result in that.
That's just great leadership from within our team. We have those kinds of kids that and we do that everywhere we go. It's funny. We'll go, we go play at Duke and our guys will be cleaning up the locker room and their people will come in and say, "Don't worry about it. We've got people coming in." And I'm like, "Yeah, this isn't about you. This is about us. This is about us making sure that we respect, the people that are going to come in and clean the place. We're not going to leave it, like looking like a pigsty, and we're going to clean it up and make it look like it did when we walked in." So that's just a kind of a philosophy of how to do things. But I'll tell you how much it has permeated the culture of our team. One of the most gratifying things about last year is as great a year as it was and as good a team as it was, and clearly, the best team we've ever had, the most accomplished team we've ever had, everything else, also had the top GPA of any team on campus, and also won a service award from the local Boys and Girls Club as the Northern Indiana Volunteer of the Year because of the time that our guys spend with the Boys and Girls Club here in town. So pretty cool thing that speaks a lot to the kind of kids that we have and the way they approach things, because the Boys and Girls thing, it's not about the hours that they spent. It's about the engagement that they have. They made a difference when they went there. They engaged with the kids, and they treated it like it was important to them, and so it was important to the kids. And that's the next level, right? We can all show up and show our support by being there, but engaging and making a difference is what it's about, and that's the kind of guys we have. So
That's great. Well, let's open it up to a few questions. Got one right here.
Yeah, hi, Kevin. I played for Rich O'Leary, so I've watched your career from day one. It's been absolutely terrific, so congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
And I've been at almost all of the championship games, one in Baltimore where we went into overtime and they won on a face-off. But anyway, I want to focus on the last 2 years. So my question for you is, the thought of Notre Dame lacrosse without Kevin Corrigan is kind of depressing. So you've won 2 championships. What motivates you, and how much longer do you plan on sticking around, and do you have any succession planning in mind?
Zero succession planning, because I have zero plans of going anywhere. I really enjoy what I do, and I hadn't even thought about it that way, and I don't. I've always figured I would know it was time to quit when I couldn't get excited about some of the things that we're doing and about the kids that we're recruiting and that kind of stuff. And I don't at all feel that way on the practice field or out in recruiting or anything. So I guess, I don't know I don't know what it's like. I don't know. Maybe that comes at you all at once on one day, or maybe that's a slow, realization that you're just not feeling it anymore or something. I don't know, but I don't feel any of that right now. I enjoy it, and I feel like we're doing okay, so we'll keep doing it.
As my mom would say, thanks be to God.
Hey, Coach, congratulations on the recruiting front. You're doing really well. I'm sure it's great going in, showing them your rings, if you get rings for winning national championships.
I have no idea where my rings are. In a sock drawer somewhere, I hope.
All right, so as far as recruiting, say you have a recruit and he goes, well, I want to play lacrosse, but I also want to play football. How does that work with Coach Freeman, and how's that process work?
So, as you know, we have 3 kids right now on the football team. Obviously, Jordan Faison, what a phenomenal year. I mean, think about, so him, Buckner, right? And Tyler Buckner and a freshman named Matt Jeffrey, right? The three of those guys. And each of them has had their own path. But think about this for a second, because some really cool things happen to those kids by playing both. And I can't even imagine how difficult it is to do well in school. Tyler Buckner last spring took 18 hours in coursework and played lacrosse, after playing football for Alabama all fall, right? So his path was MVP of the bowl game for Notre Dame 2 years ago, transfers to Alabama, starts a couple games for them early in the year, plays with them through January, transfers back to Notre Dame, and wins a national championship in lacrosse. It's pretty cool. Right? Not many people have had a 18 months like that in their life. Jordan Faison walks onto the football team last year with coach's blessing, through the recruiting process and everything else, because Jordan wouldn't have come here without the opportunity to walk onto football, and obviously then showed that he clearly belonged. But Jordan is MVP of this bowl game. So the last two MVPs, Notre Dame's last two football bowl games are lacrosse players. Jordan is the MVP, comes out in the spring. The whole football team comes to our game against Maryland last spring. Jordan scores a behind-the-back goal, turns and celebrates with all his teammates from football, as well as lacrosse. But it was the greatest thing to see. 2 weekends ago, when they fumbled the punt, it was Jordan who ran and dove in there head first and knocked the ball out and knocked it down to the 3-yard line where we recovered it, right? An unbelievable play for the football team. Well, we were down on the field from me to you, the whole team is right there. So Jordan makes that play in football, jumps up and runs over and celebrates with his lacrosse teammates, right? I mean, how about that for an amazing year, of a guy getting to have some really cool experiences as a freshman in college, right? Or freshman, sophomore in college. Pretty amazing.
After winning 2 national championships, how will your offense adapt to Pat Cavanaugh leaving, and who will step into the role to help out Chris?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer yet. We haven't had to be on the field without Pat yet, but Pat was such a integral part to everything we did, not just as a talent and as a player, but as a person. He was our captain for 2 years, a great leader. Just somebody that really, it's hard to talk about the impact he had on our program. So we're going to have to figure that out. We have a freshman named Brady Picorni that I think will have some impact on our team. We have a sophomore and Brock Behrman that I think will get some time there. We have a junior in Wilma Harris who is gonna play. We don't know whether we'll play him at midfield or attack or what, but he's too good to keep off the field for another year. He started playing great at the end of last year and played well through the tournament last year. So I think all of those guys will contribute to we're not going to ask anybody to try to go out there and be Pat Cavanaugh, right? There's only been one of those in my experience. So we got a bunch of guys that we think can maybe take up some of the slack, and we can still be a good offensive team, without Pat.
I think we have time for 2 more questions. We've got one there and one right here up front.
Hey, Coach, huge fan. Who's stepping into the cage to take over for the best goalie I've ever seen play? I
agree with that. Scott Bacigalupo is a Princeton goalie of a lot of acclaim, and I think commonly has been thought of as in that conversation. If you talked about the top 3 or 4 goalies in the game in history, he's on campus today. His daughter has committed to our women's team, and she's going to play. So we just saw Scott about an hour ago, and I think he feels the same way, that Liam is as good as anybody that's ever played. I mean, my dad was a college lacrosse coach when I was born 65 years ago. So I've seen a lot of guys over the years, a lot of college goalies, and I've never seen anybody better than him. So we'll certainly miss Liam. The 2 guys that are going to compete for that, Alex Zeff, who is a senior this year and has been sitting behind him. He's got 2 years of eligibility left, though, because he was behind Liam, and a junior, Thomas Ricciardelli. And those two guys, honestly, are both outstanding. You know, I couldn't tell you which one, because right now, going through, we've had 18 fall practices, and I would say, you know, it's almost a dead heat, you know, who's better on any given day, you know. So we've got a few months to figure that out, and we'll see what that looks like. But it's going to be one of those two guys, and they're both outstanding. One's a big lefty, one's a short righty, so they're both different in every way. So maybe there's a way to use that, you know, that we could use both of them in some way. We'll see what it looks like. Thank you.
Who's your favorite player?
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate the chance to be here. No chance. Good question, though. But
Well, that's kind of like asking a mom who's her favorite child, right? We got one mom over here who could answer it. Great. All right, let's give it up for Coach Corrigan.